Good morning and welcome to the Utopian Cafe for Friday, August 6th. Of course, every Friday we've got Stan Phillips here.
Greetings, everyone.
Good morning, Stan. Stan and I are going to talk Major League Baseball here in a couple seconds, but we're going to get you a preview of the weekend in the Utopian quick. You can see the schedule for the weekend on the bottom. In the East Division, the Washington Nationals have kind of quietly snuck into a wild card position. They're going to be hosting the Red Sox this weekend. Toronto at the Yankees coming up tonight. We got the Expos at Mets, Orioles at Phillies. Those are the East Division games. In the North, we got the White Sox at Twins, Cubs and Brewers, Reds at Pirates. That's a big series. That's basically the two teams chasing the Indians in the North. Indians at the Tigers. In the West, we got the Angels at San Diego, Dodgers at Seattle, the Rockies at Oakland this weekend, Arizona at San Francisco. And in the South, we got Texas at Atlanta, Houston at Durham, Kansas City at Florida, and St. Louis at Tampa Bay. Right now in the division races, the Blue Jays have a 5-game lead on the Red Sox, and the Nationals are the second wildcard team in the East. The Indians have a 2-game lead on the Reds, 3-game lead on the on the Pirates. The Giants and Padres are tied at the top of the West with 3 teams 6 games back. The Dodgers, the Angels, and I can't think of the third one. I believe it's the A's. And then in the South, the Braves have a 6-game lead on Durham. A 4-game lead on Durham and a 6-game lead on Tampa Bay. So it's going to be a fun weekend. We'll get you yesterday's scores here on the bottom. I posted a report last night, so we're not going to talk too much about that. But Stan, of all these Utopian series that are kicking off this weekend, obviously you and I are Mets fans. That'd be fun to see the Expos coming to town in 2021.
Oh, always. I've always had an emotional tug at the heart with the Expos. For some reason, I just don't know why. I just love the fact that, they're beloved at one time, then scorned. For some reason, I always loved the Expos. I can't explain why. It's not I'm a fan. I just enjoy the Expos. So to see that revived again, it's a treat to me. But I did have a question, though.
Sure.
You have on the Cubs Brewers as the Friday night showcase. Is that the MLB Network showcase?
Yeah, I mean, for the purposes of the Utopian Baseball universe, I use that logo. Even though it's not Major League Baseball, I use the MLB Network, and I have like Bob Costas and Jim Codd on the call tonight. I use Matt Vasgersian and John Smoltz, so it's almost like a partnership, like when the WWF and NWA used to do cards in the 70s at Madison Square Garden. You'd have Harley Race versus Bob Backlund. So MLB Network is actually going to be showing that game tonight between the Cubs and Brewers. For pitching, I believe we've got Carlos Zambrano versus Ben Sheets tonight.
Well, I'm glad that's the case. That's the Cubs and Brewers, because when they televise the New York teams, and half the time on these MLB Network showcases that are televised in the real world, not the Utopian one, not that yours isn't the real world. I'm saying, real world. They're always blacked out, so I never get to see them. So I'm glad to see the Cubs and Brewers will be a game I would be able to watch if I wanted to on the MLB Network showcase in the Utopian baseball universe. That's good to see.
And that's one thing about the universe is that we don't have blackouts. So
thank God.
If I say Cubs Brewers, not only is the rest of the country getting it, but you can see this game too in Chicago and Milwaukee. Tonight it is Bob Costas and Jim Codd on the call for Zambrano versus Sheets, the Friday night showcase in the Utopian baseball universe. All right, Stan, we got a big weekend of Major League Baseball coming up. Now, we were talking before the show. The Mets' lead in the East was once, 6 games, is now a half a game. They have a big series this weekend in Philadelphia. What are you expecting to see from our Metsies this weekend?
Well, I get too emotional about this. I'm expecting the worst. And any fan who analyzes this would expect the worst. Like the announcer for my beloved New York Yankees, I say that tongue-in-cheek, John Sterling says, never bet on baseball, and you never know what's going to happen in baseball. So he also says that when things are going good, they're never as good as they really are. When they're going bad, they're not as bad as they really are. So hopefully that applies here, where the Mets are just skidding. Losing 3 out of 4 to Marlins really hurts. And it looks like Philly's waking up. I think Philly has the best record, either the best record or tied for the top record in baseball, like the last 30 games. And the Mets basically in their last 50 games are playing like 420 ball. So it was inevitable that this was to happen. Now, I always base it over the 162 game schedule. And the beginning of the year, I actually expected Atlanta to win the division. The Mets and Phillies fighting for one of the wild card spots. So that's not going to happen. So my expectations coming into the season were for the Mets not to finish first. But like I said, they play the games, and let's go for it. The matchup I'm looking forward to seeing is Zach Wheeler on Sunday. I think he's going against Marcus Stroman. That's going to be, if we can knock off Zach Wheeler, and still, even if we lose the other 2 games, it's sort of a momentum builder for us. But if we go in there and we lose the series to Zach Wheeler, I think it's going to have an effect where it may come tumbling down, because then we're playing the Dodgers and Giants like, I don't know, 13 times in the next 3 weeks or so, and that's going to be tough. So it's not only the Philly series, it's the upcoming schedule.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's just good to see the Mets and Phillies going at it. It's just a rivalry that doesn't happen that often. And unfortunately, when it has happened in the past, it seems like the Phillies always come ahead, like in 2007 and 8 and those years when the Mets collapsed. But it's amazing, like in the 50-year history of the Mets and Phillies, it never really transpired where both teams were doing well. So this is one of the things with things on the line. It's going to be fun to see. Now, I'm going to the game Sunday. I will be going incognito. I will not wear Met garb when I'm down there. I'll be dressed as a regular civilian to save my life. And I thank God I have New Jersey license plates too, because they have a tendency to play around with New York cars there. But that's okay. It's part of the rivalry. I'll silently cheer. And hopefully Sunday will be the game where we actually have won the series by then or win the series. So I'm just hoping for the best. Exciting baseball, see what happens. And hopefully we're still in first place after this weekend. I can't predict. I'm terrible at predicting, but I would like to see the Mets win. How about yourself?
Should be fun. I'm going to try to watch these games on MLB.TV. I actually have really good memories of watching the Mets win the wild card, or I should say clinch the wild card in Philadelphia on my birthday in 2016. It was a Saturday afternoon. I had tickets for the Saturday and the Sunday game. So they clinched the wild card on Saturday. Jim Brewer was like 30 feet away from me on the third base side.
Well, he became a cult hero that year, didn't he?
What's that?
2015 and 16, Jim Brewer was a cult hero to all the Met fans.
Oh my God! Getting his alerts every day on Facebook was like the highlight of my year for a couple years. So yeah, I had a lot of fun there, and I actually got to see Ryan Howard's last game in 2016 with the Phillies. So I'm kind of like you. I'm not big on making like game or series predictions. We'll get to the season predictions here in a minute, but in looking at the matchups, I will probably split the games today and tomorrow, and then I'm just hoping that we get a win on Sunday. I think that would put us ahead by about a game and a half.
Yeah, that's all you can hope for. You got to play one game. You hate to use the analogy. You got to do it one game at a time, but that's basically what they have to do. So
yeah, and we do really have a tough schedule in August. I mean, what did you say? 13 games against the Giants and Dodgers?
I know we're home and away with both the Dodgers and Giants, so maybe 13, maybe more. I'm not sure. It's probably 12. I would think it's 3-3-3-3 both places. So
that's rough. So before we get to our predictions, Stan, I never got a chance to see J.R. Richard play baseball. I think he retired in 80. I think he had a stroke in 80. He tried to make a comeback in 84, but by that time, it wasn't at the major league level that he got to pitch. What are your memories of J.R. Richard with the Astros?
Well, I'm a little bit older than you, and I do remember J.R. Richard through my high school years. Back then, we didn't have television the way we do now. So basically, you just went on what you saw on like a highlight reel or on the local news. They didn't even have ESPN until I think 1980. So it was tough to actually see him pitch. But I used to play Stratomatic baseball, and that's how I used to gauge how good a player was. And he was just dominant. I mean, it's basically statistical driven, the game, and you could see what a force he was when he was striking out batters, and it was amazing. And he was one of those guys you did follow in the box score all the time. He's one of those guys like you expected maybe a no hitter every time he went out. So it's sad to see what happened to him. I mean, his health problems, and I think later on he ran into personal problems too. But it's amazing. Like everyone from that generation seems to be going by the wayside, unfortunately. You know, in the last COVID year, we lost a lot of greats, and I'm not saying he's one of the all-time greats, but he was one of the best pitchers of all time. And I think in Houston Astro history, he'll be one of the legends forever.
For some of our younger viewers that might not be familiar with him, J.R. Richard was a pitcher for the Astros from like 71 to 80. He actually suffered a stroke on the field during pregame in 1980. The year after he was, I believe, the strikeout king. I think he was the National League leader in strikeouts twice. Just imagine a pitching staff that has Nolan Ryan and another guy that has won multiple strikeout crowns. I mean, this guy's career was taken from him at the age of 30 with a stroke. And as I mentioned earlier, he did attempt to come back. He never made it back to the big leagues with the Astros, but it's a sad story. I was actually, I teared up last year when I did one of my simulations on September 15th, the date I forget what date I pulled, but I saw that there was going to be a no-hitter that day. And when I did the shuffle and saw that it was benefiting J.R. Richard, I kind of teared up. And then 2 weeks later, we had the same thing happen to Dave Dravecky. So it was just the chance of that happening. I got the news later last night, so I was sad to see that. He's probably on my list of players that I never got to see live that I would definitely pay money to see in the Utopian. So a sad day yesterday. We honored him. We actually had an Astros-Braves game scheduled for Xbox with him pitching. And like my palms were sweaty because I wanted to do really well for him. And they, unfortunately, the Braves won 6-2. But last night it really wasn't about wins and losses. It was just about celebrating the life and legacy of a great Houston Astros legend.
Yeah, when he had 300 strikeouts per year, that's when strikeouts really meant something. It wasn't like today's game where everyone gets 12 strikeouts every time they pitch 7 or 8 innings. When he did it, it meant something. There were very few who could do it.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at the major league standings here, and we're going to get some predictions out of Stan and myself. I had to really look at the American League because I don't follow the American League that closely. So I guess we'll start there. Right now in the East, Tampa Bay's got a 1.5 lead up on Boston. Who do you see winning that division this year?
Well, I always stick to my guns when I make a preseason prediction, and I had the Yankees winning like 103 games. Can they do it? I hope not. But for some reason, Tampa Bay does what it takes to win all the time, and it's not pretty. It's not sexy baseball. They just get the job done. So I think just on fundamentals over 162 game schedule, Boston's not hitting right now, and you could see they're falling apart because of it.
Yeah,
I think Tampa Bay is very resilient, and I would have to go with Tampa Bay to win it. And then Boston inevitably will probably get the wild card, and then I guess maybe the Yankees can get a wild card. I'm not sure on that one, but the Yankees are just coming on strong. Like I said, they're hot right now. Let's just see what happens in a week or two.
My preseason prediction was also the Yankees. I had I think I actually had the White Sox and Yankees in the ALCS, but I'm gonna also stick with the Tampa Bay Rays. I'm gonna have the Rays come out of the East, and then I think I'm gonna pick the even though they are not hitting right now, I am gonna have the Red Sox hosting the wild card game, and I'll share who they're gonna be playing here shortly, but. Let's go to the Central now, where the White Sox have the biggest lead in baseball right now. I believe it's 9 games, and I don't even know who they're 9 games up on right now. Maybe Cleveland.
I would think Cleveland. I didn't check this morning or check the last few days because I know it's basically a runaway. But I think Cleveland was the second place thing. Although Detroit is coming on strong, but I don't think Detroit's caught Cleveland yet. So
Yeah, so I think the White Sox will hold on there, and I don't see a wild card coming out of the Central this year. I think the White Sox are going to coast. They might win this division by 12, 13 games, so I'm going to have the White Sox coming out of the Central. Right now in the West, I believe Houston is a 4-game lead on Oakland. My preseason prediction for this series was actually for this division was actually Oakland, but my prediction for this division is that Houston will hang on. They'll represent the West, and I think Oakland's going to face Boston in the American League wild card.
Yeah, beginning of the year, I had Oakland too. I had that as a tight division. The reason why I didn't pick Houston was just due to the fact I thought it would be too tough a year of them on the road, but they've been very resilient, and I don't even think the trash can thing means anything to them anymore. They just live with it. So in that regard, it could go either way. It's a 2-team race. And then for the wild card, I had the Angels in the mix at the beginning of the year. But the White Sox were another team I had as a 100-team win. I do a preview on my Baseball Way of Life YouTube thing. And I just saw the White Sox were just so deep and so talented. I still thought the Yankees were the better team, but right now that Field of Dreams game on Wednesday, it looks like it could be a preview of the ALCS. And who wins that one? If it ever came to a Yankees White Sox, first of all, Yankees have to get in there, but it would be a great matchup if that was the ALCS. But beginning of the year, I'm jumping ahead now. I had the Yankees and the Dodgers, and I'm kind of sneaking into the NOS pick for myself now too. But I still kind of think if the Yankees get into the wild card and game and they win it, they still could win the American League. But it's a flip of the coin there for me. If it's not winning the wild card game or getting the wild card, I would have to pick the White Sox to be the AL representative.
Yeah. So with the 5 teams that I have going to the American League playoffs, I've got Tampa Bay, Chicago, Houston, and then Boston and Oakland in the wild card. My prediction for the tournament is going to be Boston will win the wild card game and face the White Sox. And then it'll be Tampa Bay versus Houston. My prediction is it's going to be the White Sox and Houston, with the White Sox advancing to the World Series.
Yeah, the White Sox and Houston would be quite an intriguing matchup. That one will be fun to watch. I think everyone will be watching that one. Rooting against Houston.
Sure.
It would be fun to watch.
I actually think Houston is feeding off of when they go into these road parks, I think they're actually playing well because they're feeding off of it. They're kind of using it for their advantage, almost like a bad guy in wrestling.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's take a look at the East right now. Coming into the season, I was just really excited about the Mets. After the Lindor trade, I had them winning it all. So we get the Mets half a game up on the Phillies. The Braves are right there. I guess the Nationals and Marlins were sellers at the break, so we won't talk too much about them. But do you think the Mets can hold on?
Do I think they can? Yes, I do. The thing that concerns me about the Mets is not only for this year, but going forward is Jacob deGrom. I think where there's smoke, there's fire. And this whole thing with, there's nothing really permanent damage or anything like that. There's something going on that he's not being able to throw till September. Inflammation usually occurs because there is something else wrong. And maybe they just haven't found it. I don't know. But if Jacob deGrom is not available for the playoffs or available for the stretch run, I may have to say the Mets will not win the division just due to the fact I think it's a psychological burden on the rest of the team. And you could see ever since he's been out, Stroman's not been the same. Walker's not been the same. It's been tough on the whole pitching staff. And the only way the Mets are going to get into the playoffs is if they actually have good starting pitching. So do I think they can do it? Yes. As a fan, definitely. Like I said, you never know what's going to happen. Unfortunately for Atlanta, Ronald Acuna Jr. is out. He would have been the missing piece for them, I think, because Freddie Freeman's come around. A couple of the other Braves are the kid who plays third base for the Braves, Riley. I think he's a future permanent all-star. So you have those three in the mix. I think Atlanta has a better team than the Mets. But with Acuna out, the Mets have a shot. The Phillies, I always think they combust. I think their bullpen will actually kill them in the long run. It's been an Achilles heel all season, except for the last 3 weeks or so. And again, the Phillies, I think, are just on a hot run right now. But again, the good thing about it is you have to play these teams. Not only the Mets have to play the Braves and Phillies, but vice versa. Phillies have to play the Braves. And the Nationals aren't easy. They're a combative team. We saw that. So basically, I think since 2015, whatever team has had the best divisional record in the NL East has won the division. So I expect the same thing this year. I'm rooting for the Mets, and that's my pick.
Yeah. For the purpose of the show, we're just going to assume we're getting DeGrom back in September. I hope that's the case. I still think there's a shot that Syndergaard pitches this year. So I'm going to stick with my Mets preseason prediction. I think between the Braves and Phillies, I think the Braves will finish in second in that division. But clearly, both wild cards are going to come out of the West, in my opinion. I mean, if you just look at the standings, the top three records, I believe, in the National League, are all NL West teams. So let's look at the Central right now, where the Brewers have a 7.5 game lead. And again, I'm not even sure who's in second place right now because that keeps switching. But I think the Brewers will hold on. They got a great 1-2-3 punch with Woodruff, Burns, and Peralta. The only thing that concerns me with the Brewers right now is that they are dead last in the major leagues in hitting.
Well, I agree with you 100% on that because pitching. That gets you through the season, and even more important, and that's why the Brewers could be very dangerous coming the postseason, is you have those three starting pitchers, and I think they could do damage in the postseason if they're on. You have the big three. Like I said, to get to the World Series, once you're in the playoffs, you have to have a big three, and the big three can throw hard, and they have some good pitchers, the Brewers. So I expect the Brewers to win easily. I don't think no one's going to catch them because of the fact they have the pitching. And the trades they made for some of their hitters have been pretty damn good. I'll tell you that. The three transactions they've made have really helped their offense this year. So the Brewers are my slam pick. The two Centrals I think are wrapped up with the White Sox and the Brewers.
Yeah. We had a potential World Series matchup here in Milwaukee a couple of weeks ago with the White Sox and Brewers, and the Brewers won 2 or 3 in that series. So, they're playing really well right now, and it's obviously fun for the city I live in. We just won the NBA championship, and now we've got a big lead in the Central Division. Last division we'll look at right now, it's the Giants, who have, I believe, the best record in baseball. I believe they're going to hold on, which I think would create a very interesting wild card game between the Padres and Dodgers. I know everyone is high up on the Dodgers with getting Scherzer and Turner, but I think the Bauer thing has been a distraction. I think it's going to continue to be. I actually see the Giants winning that division and the Padres advancing in that wild card game.
Yeah, I had the Dodgers actually in my predictions in the preseason. I had them challenging the Mariners' win record of 116 games. So once again, do not follow my advice. Do not follow my picks. And probably don't follow this prediction, but I think the Dodgers will still win it. But the Trevor Bauer thing, from what I'm hearing is the players are almost 100% against Trevor Bauer returning. And I think he may have seen his last days as a Dodger. So it may be one of those things where they'll just bite the bullet and cut him loose and probably, I think they'd still be responsible for his salary somewhat and let him go to another team. It'd be interesting to see if another team does pick him up. But that has nothing to do with the division race here. What amazes me is the Giants. They are the big story of the year. Again, I don't watch much West Coast baseball because I'm basically watching the back of my eyelids at that time of night. But what they've done is amazing. Amazing in the fact that they're playing the Dodgers and the Padres in their division, and the fact they're in the same division for them being first place is amazing. So maybe there's something I'm not seeing. I'd have to look at statistics better and see what they're doing. But hats off to the Giants. And it would be a great story if the Giants actually came out of all that and actually represented the National League to show you that you don't have to be the big dog. You just have to do the right thing with the talent you have. And it would be nice to see a team like the Giants in the World Series, but the Dodgers still scare me.
Yeah. So of the 5 teams that I have going to the playoffs, we've got I'm going to say the Mets in the East, if they get the pitching back, Brewers in the Central, Giants in the West. Padres will survive out of the wild card. So on one bracket, it's going to be Giants Padres because the wild card winner now plays the top seed regardless of division, and I would have the Giants advance to the NLCS. And Brewers Mets. This is what I wrote my book about in 2008 when people were questioning why I had two teams. It just so happened that the Brewers made the playoffs that year. The Mets fell one game short. This potentially could be the first time that the Mets and Brewers play each other in the postseason. And again, I'm going to stick by my prediction. If the Mets have their pitching, I think they'll beat the Brewers in 5. If they don't have the pitching, I don't think the Mets even make the playoffs. Then we'd be talking about like Braves Brewers. But I'm going to stick with the Mets. Mets Giants NLCS. And again, this isn't, I don't do this every year. I don't pick the Mets to win every year. Going back to 1986, I probably picked them 4 or 5 times to win a World Series. But it's been such a great year. It's been such a fun year. I think they have a chance. And if they have a chance, I'm gonna pick them to go all the way. So my prediction is I'm going to stick with my preseason prediction. I'm going to say Mets and White Sox in the World Series.
That would be nice to see. And I'd go for that. As a fan, I would love to see the Mets in the World Series against the White Sox. And I think the White Sox could very well be the American League representative. And like I said, I'm not too objective when it comes to the Mets. So my pick would be the Mets. But if the Mets were out of the equation, I would still go with the Dodgers. But that would be my choices. But I'm rooting for the Mets. So I can't give you an objective answer on that one.
No, it's tough. This is a 2 Mets fans show, so it's hard. Now, again, if the Mets were terrible coming into a season, I wouldn't make a ridiculous claim that they're going to do it all. But, getting Lindor, the pitching, just Citi Field can be a magical place too. So like, I'm just, very optimistic that they can hold on and put it together. Stan, we got a couple minutes left in the show. Anything else you want to talk about before I'm going to reveal our Xbox schedule here momentarily?
No, I don't want to keep the folks waiting from the Xbox schedule, but I do want to remind everyone that we're doing this every Friday, 8:30. And if you want to check out Baseball Way of Life, we do one of these 8:30. And Joey just gives you a preview of everything that's happening the coming week and other highlights and sidelights of the Utopian baseball universe. That's the one day of the week we hand it over to him, and he starts off the week on a great note. So it's fun talking to you guys this week. And don't forget, check us out Monday. Joey will recap everything for you and give you previews.
And if you guys don't belong to Baseball A Way of Life at this point, I just feel sorry for you. It's probably the best baseball group out there on Facebook. Stan Phillips is the moderator. He's here every Friday at 8:30 Eastern, and I join him at 8:30 Eastern every Monday in the Baseball Way of Life podcast. So, Stan, I want to thank you for being here today. We'll see you again Monday. And before we leave, folks, let's get you the Xbox schedule for the weekend. Early evening tonight, we got Red Sox Nationals. The Nationals have won 7 of 8. They just swept the Phillies in Philly. They are the second wild card team right now, and they're going to host the Red Sox tonight, who are the second wild card team. So this is a potential postseason preview. Tomorrow night, late night, after dark, we got the Dodgers at Mariners. And Sunday morning, our breakfast in Utopia. We got the Diamondbacks at Giants. So we're going to feature a couple West Coast games this week, along with the Red Sox and Nationals today. Again, Stan, thanks for being here, and we'll see you on Baseball The Way of Life on Monday morning.
Okay, thanks, Joey, and have a good weekend, everyone.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.